Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo 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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we are continuing with Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter number 13, Nature, the Enjoyer in Consciousness, verse number 5. So it's 13.5. ऋषिभिर् बहुधा गितं छन्दोभिर्विविधैः पृथक् ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव हेतुमद्भिः विनिश्चितैः. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. That knowledge of the field of activities and of the node of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is specially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect. Would someone like to read the purport? Okay.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the highest authority in explaining this knowledge. Still, as a matter of course, learned scholars and standard authorities always give evidence from previous authorities. Krishna is explaining this most controversial point regarding the duality and non-duality of the soul and the super soul by referring to a scripture, the Vedanta, which is accepted as authority. First, he says, this is according to different sages. As far as the sages are concerned, besides himself, Vyasadeva is a great sage, and in the Vedanta Sutra, duality is perfectly explained. And Vyasudeva's father, Parashara, is also a great sage, and he writes in his books of religiosity, Aham Tvam Cha Tathayin, we, you, I, and the various other living entities are all transcendental, although in material bodies. Now we are fallen into the ways of the three modes of material nature according to our different karma. As such, some are on higher levels and some are in the lower nature. The higher and lower natures exist due to ignorance and are being manifested in an infinite number of living entities. But the super soul, which is infallible, is uncontaminated by the three qualities of nature and is transcendental. Similarly, in the original Vedas, a distinction between the super soul, and the body is made, especially in the Katha Upanishad. There are many great sages who have explained this, and Parashara is considered principal among them. The word Chamo
Chandobi.
Chandovi refers to various Vedic literatures. The Taittiriya Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, for example, which is a branch of the Yajurveda, describes nature, the living entity, and the supreme personality of Godhead. As stated before, Kshetra is the field of activities, and there are two kinds of Kshetrajna, the individual living entity and the supreme living entity. As stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahma Tucham Pratishta. This is manifestation of the Supreme Lord's energy known as Annamaya, dependence upon food for existence. This is materialistic realization of the Supreme. Then there is Pranamaya. After realizing the Supreme Absolute Truth in food, one can realize the Absolute Truth in the living symptoms or life forms. In Jnanamaya, realization extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing. Then there is Brahman realization called Vijnana, Vij, no, yes, Jnanamaya, in which the living entity's mind and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity himself. The next and supreme stage is Anandamaya, realization of the bliss of the all blissful nature. Thus, there are five stages of Brahman realization, which are called Brahman Putra. Out of these, the first three, Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Jnanamaya, involve the field of activities of the living entities. Transcendental to all these fields of activities is the Supreme Lord, who is called Anandamaya. The Vedanta Sutra also describes the Supreme by saying Anandamayo Vyasa. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is by nature full of joy. To enjoy his transcendental bliss, he expands into Jnanamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, and Annamaya. In the field of activities, the living entity is considered to be the enjoyer, and different from him is the Anandamaya. That means that if the living entity decides to enjoy in dovetailing himself with the Anandamaya, then he becomes perfect. This is the real picture of Supreme Lord as the supreme knower of the field, the living entity as the subordinate knower, and the nature of field of activities. One has to search for this truth in the Vedanta Sutra or the Brahma Sutra. It is mentioned here that the codes of Brahma Sutra are very nicely arranged according to cause and effect. Some of the sutras or aphorisms are Navya Ashya, Natmasutra. Um, the first aphorism indicates the kind of activity, the second indicates the living entity, and the third indicates the Supreme Lord, the Suman Bonam, among all the manifestations of various entities.
Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. The translation again. That knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect. So we can see up till now, what we have covered so far is Arjuna asking questions and Krishna answering those questions from verse 1 through 4. Arjuna asked Krishna, who is the enjoyer? Krishna said, I am the enjoyer. Then he asked, what is the field of activities? Krishna said, it is this body which is a field of activities. Who is the knower of the body? It is the soul. The soul is a knower of one's own body, but Krishna as a super soul is a knower of all the bodies. That is what he explained. Then he wanted to know what is the meaning of, who is that knower? What is knowledge? Knowledge is to understand the difference between body and the soul. So these were his questions. And then in verse number 4, Krishna explained, maybe if you sit over here, then I can see directly. Otherwise, I have to turn my face. Then I can see the friends on Zoom also, and then both, right? Otherwise, my neck will go. It will be a good exercise. You can take some more cushions. So in verse number 4, Krishna says, now hear from me the field of activity, how it is constituted. That means this body, how it's constituted, what are the changes that take place, and what does it produce, etc. So now in this verse number 5, Krishna is saying that knowledge and knower of activities. Now he is not only talking about the knowledge, but he's also giving reference to authority. He says this is described by various sages in the Vedas, right? Various sages he's talking. And especially he says it is presented in Vedanta Sutra. Now we've heard this word Vedanta Sutra. So, what is Vedanta Sutra? I was looking up Srila Prabhupada's lecture on this particular verse, and he describes it very nicely. First of all, as per we read in the purport, we have to understand that Krishna is the highest authority. Now, from different scriptures, we have got references like Brahma Samhita says Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha, he says that. Then in Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna says, Bhuktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Lokam Maheshwara, Maha Ishvara. I am the supreme lord of everyone. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the books you see at the back, it clearly says, Ete Cham Sakala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. So the scriptures also very clearly give the reference that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the highest authority. Still, he is giving evidence of previous authorities like the great sages. So he's saying it's not just me, but even the great sages. And the great sage, one of them is Srila Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is actually an incarnation of Krishna. He came down to give us Vedas, those vast Vedas, right? And then those Vedas were divided into four parts, Yadur, Sama, Atharva, and Rig Veda, four Vedas. So Vedanta Sutras, they are accepted as authorities, just like the Vedas. And it states, in fact, he states that sages, which also includes Srila Vyasadeva, he himself who came, Krishna himself came as Vyasadeva. So the Vedanta Sutras, they are, of course, given to us by Srila Vyasadeva. So Vedanta, what does it mean? Veda means knowledge, Anta means end of knowledge. That means the end of all knowledge is the Vedas. That is all in all. That is what it means. So end of knowledge is actually to understand Krishna. Even in Bhagavad Gita, when we go to chapter 15, verse number 15, we'll see Krishna says, Sarva se chaham hridi sanivishto matah smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarver aham eva vedyo vedantakrit vedavid eva chaham. He says that I am situated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. We have to choose. And then he also says, I am the compiler of the Vedas, and I am to be known from the Vedas. So the purpose of Vedanta Sutras, purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam, purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to know Krishna. That is the end of knowledge. So the real commentary of Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. That is what it is. And one cannot understand Vedanta Sutras. Why? Because they are mentioned in codes. Now, supposing in your IT field also there is coding, right? I cannot understand that. It's very hard, to kind of explain or understand coding. So similarly, Vedanta Sutras, they are, mentioned in codes, and each code has ample meaning. Each code, and Vedanta Sutras are so vast. So, because the codes require explanation, so Srimad Bhagavatam is given to us by Krishna himself in his incarnation as Vyasadeva, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the summary of all Vedic knowledge. And the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam is Bhagavad Gita. That is why it is recommended that first we try and understand the Bhagavad Gita. Once we are able to understand, then we can understand Srimad Bhagavatam, because that is very vast. So people, Prabhupada mentions in the purport that people in general, especially in this age, they are not philosophically inclined. You must have noticed that, right? You tell your friends, oh, there's a nice Bhagavad Gita class, why don't you come? What do they say? It's not for me. People are not philosophically inclined. They are socially inclined. They are, what is that called? Barbecue inclined. Let's put it that way, right? So that the inclinations are different. That's why Krishna says that uh, out of many thousands, Manushyanam Sahasreshu, out of thousands, only one will try for perfection. So after when we approach thousands of people, then one will show interest, that, oh, you showed interest in Bhagavad Gita, someone else will say something must be wrong with you, like, because general public does not is not spiritually inclined. So because people are not inclined philosophically, so it's difficult to understand the Vedanta sutras. But we can try to understand the summary of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Bhagavad Gita has it all. So Vedanta Sutra is also called Brahma Sutra, right? And everything in this material world has a beginning and an end, right? Just like this body that I have had a beginning. I was born, right? This body was born. And then there's going to be an end when I have to leave this body, right? So in this material world, everything has a beginning and an end. Birth and death is for sure in this material world. In fact, in chapter 10, if you remember, we read where Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mataha sarvam pravartate. That I am the origin of everything. Everything emanates from me. Spiritual world, demigods, living entities, everything emanates from me. So anything, Prabhupada says, anything material has a date of birth, right? We are proud of our date of birth, right? When our birthday comes, like we are so excited. Oh, it's my birthday, and we start announcing, right? We start announcing on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Remember, my birthday is coming, so make sure to wish me at midnight. And the one who wishes me first is my best friend, right? So birthday is so important, date of birth. So everything in material world has a beginning and an end. So, from the various scriptures, as I was mentioning earlier, Krishna has been declared to be the supreme personality of Godhead. There's no one equal to him, and there's no one who is above him. So, Prabhupada mentions in the purport in the very beginning that Krishna is the highest authority. Yet, Krishna is mentioning previous authorities, right? Like Vyasadev, like the great sages. So, important to understand from this whole verse is the difference between the field of activity and the knower of the activity. Field is the body and knower is the soul. In fact, right from chapter 2, Krishna started the foundation of Bhagavad Gita's foundation of spiritual life is I am not this body. Now, theoretically, it's okay. Yeah, I'm not this body. I understand. But practically, to put it into practice, right? For instance, like someone, you know, is rude to us, right? Or insults us or harms us physically, right? You know, what is the first reaction? To hit back somehow or the other, the tongue is such an expert, to come up with some great words, which can be more insulting than what has been put on us, to give back. Somehow or the other, we need to give it back much more than what we have received, right? So that putting into practice means we try and develop those qualities of patience, tolerance, humility, right? Honesty, simplicity. These are the qualities that Krishna is telling Arjuna one needs to develop in oneself. Now, one may say, how do I do that? Is it available in the market? Can I buy it? I buy it and take a pill, and then next day I am tolerant and I'm patient and I am no, we have to develop those qualities. And how do we develop them? Simple process is that if somehow or the other we can get into the habit of chanting every day, when we chant, then those sound vibrations, they cleanse our heart. Then all these unwanted things in the heart, like anger and jealousy and envy, all this will come out. Why do we get upset? We get upset because first of all we have expectations, right? We expect from others, okay, it's my birthday, you got to give me this, or you got to do this for me, there has to be a surprise party, and there has to be those expectations. And then when those expectations are not met, then it really makes us angry, right? Why expect? Simple. Live a simple life, no expectations. And then, so this process of understanding Bhagavad Gita, trying to put it into practice, the basic thing required in progressing spiritually is chanting. Until and unless we chant, we will not be able to really develop these qualities. Yes, some of us may already have, usually husbands are more patient than the wives, right? Yeah, the expression tells it all, right? So sometimes it's the other way around also, but the point is that these qualities cannot develop on their own. We have to make that effort, just like even in our job. Unless we make an effort, to maybe learn something new, or polish our skills or something, we do, we are not going to progress. That's true in material life, right? So same thing is with spiritual life also. So here, because we are entrapped in this body, the spirit soul is conditioned by this body, and it is working under the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Sometimes we are in the mode of goodness, sometimes it's passion and goodness, sometimes it's passion and ignorance, sometimes completely ignorance. So what is happening, that we are going through this cycle of birth and death again, because we have not transcended ourselves above these three modes of material nature. We have not come to the stage of pure goodness. Many times people say, oh, in fact, I recently got a call, I think was it today, or I don't know when it was, I got a call, and there was a discussion about, why am why am I suffering so much? Why are there so many obstacles in my life? Why are there so many hurdles? So she wanted a bed of roses, and material world is not a bed of roses at all. Roses also have thorns in them, right? So I was trying to explain to her that it is our past karma. We have sowed lemon seeds. We cannot expect mangoes to come out as the fruit. No, we will only get what we have sown. Even I think it's there in Bible: as you sow, so shall you reap. Right. So whatever activities we have performed, based on that, we have got a particular type of body with a typical, not typical, but a particular kind of intelligence. Our nature, and based and born in a particular family, in a particular country, with different features, whether it is black, white, small, big, fat, thin, whatever it may be. It is all based on our past karma. And if we are facing some miseries in life, like other people disturbing us, or the boss disturbing us, or whatever it is our own karma. We cannot blame others for that, right? Just like I explain always, that if I place an order on Amazon for a blue outfit, I am not going to get a red outfit. If the blue outfit arrives, no point in me getting upset, because I placed the order, right? If I wanted red, I should have put their color red. So it's my mistake, right? So if I've got this particular body, if I'm born in a particular family, if I'm suffering some miseries in a particular way, it is all because of our own deeds. So we cannot blame others for that. So we consider, sometimes we say, oh, I am of a higher class. This is very popular in India, right? I'm high caste, you are low caste, or you're, I don't know if there's a middle caste or not. I don't know if there is one. But that gradation is there, that okay, you are this and I'm this. This is all based on ignorance, because we are talking about the body. We have to talk about the soul. We are the spirit souls, and that is the most important part. How do we feed the soul? Right? We feed the body every day, and as many times as possible, and with all delicious dishes and whatever we have a desire. But what about the soul? We are not feeding the soul at all. And if we don't feed the soul, then the soul is going to not be able to disentangle itself from this body. It's the place of the soul is to be in the spiritual world with the Supreme Lord, in the spiritual body, But right now we are in the material world, in the material body. So basically all spirit souls are eternal and joyful and happy because they are part of Krishna, because Krishna is all blissful, as we read in the purport. But if we do not stop identifying with the body, with the dress, if I keep saying, oh, I am green in color, that would be ridiculous. Just because I have a green sari, I cannot say I am green sari, I am green in color. No, that is just a covering for my body. So similarly, the body is a covering for the spirit soul. So the scriptures, they talk about eternal souls, and even great sages have explained that. Even Arjuna tells, Krishna, after he sees the universal form, that, oh yes, now I believe that you are the Supreme Lord. Even the great sages like Asita, Devala, Narada, they all also, agree that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Krishna's different energies. If you remember, you read Annamaya, Pranamaya, right? All those different energies of the Lord. So it's good to understand that. Anna, we know, is grains, right? Food. So Annamaya is Krishna's energies, which is manifested in as food. So some, they eat and they realize, oh, this is Krishna's energy, right? But we have to go. That is something to do with the body, right? It's material. But food is necessary for existence, and it's Krishna's energy. Now that would be considered as a materialistic realization of Krishna. Food, Annamaya. But then pranamaya, prana means life force, like the life. So pranamaya is realizing Krishna in life forms. We see other living entities and we realize they are also energy of Krishna, like pranamaya. Prana means the life. Then the next stage Prabhupada talks about is jnanamaya. Jnanamaya, of course, itself is explanatory, right? Jnana means knowledge, which means we are using our intelligence to think, feel, and will, right? Thinking, feeling, and willing. So that is a little higher stage, Jnanamaya. Then after that is Vijnanamaya, which is Brahman realization. That is where we understand, first of all, I am not this body, I am the spirit soul, I am the servant of the Supreme Lord, and my constitutional position is to serve the Lord. So then this is when one realizes the difference between the mind, as Prabhupada says, between the mind, the life system, life symptoms, and the soul. So when we try and understand the Bhagavad Gita on that platform, not just, hear Bhagavad Gita and, just hear again Bhagavad Gita and then hear Bhagavad Gita again, that is not going to really help. It's important to process it, to think about it. What did I hear? In fact, if say today we are doing a chapter 13 verse 5, whatever we have heard today, whatever we hear today in this today's class, if we can somehow or the other discuss this with at least three people, or three times with the same person, it'll be like, stop it, discussing too much. But if we do that, if we contemplate on what we have heard, then we'll remember it. Otherwise we'll forget it, right? If we don't, just like in school also, children are, asked to repeat again and again and again, and that is how it gets into and stays in their head. So these are the 5 stages of Brahman realization. And here, of course, we, as we saw that Krishna, as he says in this verse itself, that knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect. What we have heard in Brahma Samhita, like Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. Only the Supreme Lord can be the cause of all causes. And He is Sat Chit Ananda. Ananda means bliss. He's all blissful. Even in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna is all blissful. He is the reservoir of pleasure. So we, in this material world, we are looking for happiness. We are going here, we are going there. We think, if we watch this movie, I'll be happy. If I go to this vacation spot, I will be happy, right? So we are looking for happiness and pleasure in all different places. Why not go to the reservoir of happiness from where all happiness emanates? So then we will be blissful. If somehow or the other we can connect ourselves to Krishna, and the best process in Kali Yuga to connect with Krishna is by dialing his phone number. And we all have the phone number, right? Which is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So when we chant, we connect, and somehow or the other, if we can dovetail our activities, like Prabhupada says in the purport, dovetail our activities in Krishna consciousness. Anything that we do, we go to work, we go with the mentality that yes, I am going to do my prescribed duty, but whatever the results I receive from my from this activity of mine, I'm going to use it in Krishna's service. Whatever I eat, I'm going to first offer it to the Lord, then I'm going to eat the prasadam. So if we somehow or the other, we try to make our lives karma free, that is the point. Because every time, every moment, we are committing a sinful activity. Like right now, we are breathing, right? We are killing so many living entities, right? So we are incurring sin, which means we will have sinful reactions to face. We are walking on the road, we are killing so many living entities while walking. Walking we have to do, breathing we have to do, we don't have a choice. So in Kali Yuga, Krishna has given us a very, very easy process by which we can become karma free. Once we are karma free, then there will be no more birth. Then we will not take another body and a material body in this material world. So in this verse, and even in the purport, there is mention of Vedanta Sutras. Have you all heard of Vedanta Sutra before? Probably. No, no. Okay. So here in fact, one of the lectures of Srila Prabhupada on this verse, he explains that the codes of Vedanta Sutra are nicely arranged as per the cause and effect. And Prabhupada in this verse also mentions about aphorism. What is an aphorism? I was looking up on Google on my phone. I was looking, what is an aphorism? And it says it's a memorable expression of general truth or principle, which is handed down by tradition from generation to generation. Now, as far as Vedanta Sutra is concerned, the first aphorism of Vedanta Sutra is Atatho Brahma Jigyasa. Atatho Brahma Jigyasa, which means human life is meant for inquiry. We need to inquire, who am I? Right? If a human being does not inquire, who am I? Where have I come from? What is the purpose of life? And where do I go from here? Then he's not considered to be a human. Because otherwise, the human being, even though is in the human form, is just doing the same things that the animals are doing: eating, sleeping, mating, defending, nothing else, right? So because we have philosophical intelligence, we must inquire. Even in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in verse 34, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Prashna means question, right? So we need to approach a bona fide authority, and we need to inquire from them submissively and render service unto them. What will be the result of that? The result will be that tattva darshinaha, that self-realized soul, can impart knowledge unto us because he has seen the truth. So it's very important to understand that human life is meant for inquiring about the absolute truth. What is absolute truth? Krishna is the absolute truth. As per the Vedas, as per Srimad Bhagavatam, as per Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, to summarize this verse, what Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna is, first of all, to understand the difference between the body and the soul. And Vedanta Sutras, yes, they are there. They are like mentioned in codes, which is needs a lot of explanation. But Srila Vyasadeva, incarnation of Krishna, has already given us the essence in Srimad Bhagavatam. And to summarize that, he has given us the Bhagavad Gita, which was re-spoken by Krishna 5,000 years ago. So, main thing to understand is that I am a spirit soul, I am part of Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the enjoyer, he's a controller, he's the sanctioner, he's a well-wisher, right? He's our Supreme Father. So this is how this verse, I'm only going to do this one verse because it was quite, what you call, heavy with Vedanta Sutras and all that. So I thought I'll spend, more time on this verse. So are there any questions?
What is this? If you could read out Na Vivad Astri, the sutras, the three names that they have, or aphorisms. It's Sanskrit, I think.
Let me see, 1 minute.
On page 501.
On page 501.